Go.
Hello, my name is Ashton Selesky, and I will be doing my Honors Mentorship Program presentation on nursing in the ER, and more specifically the flow of patients through the ER. So there are definitely a number of ways that patients can come into the ER, the most common being that the patient will drive him or herself through the front door and just check in with the front desk and describe their problem, and if the problem is pretty severe, then they will see a medical staff faster, and if it's not that severe, then they probably will be waiting in the lobby for a while because the ERs are usually pretty slammed. There's the ambulance arrival, which is really intense and what you would see more in the movies, where a team of paramedics has to go pick up a patient and take their vital signs, like their heart rate, their temperature, and their breath rate. And the paramedics will transfer these vital signs over to a charge nurse in the ER, and the charge nurse will look at these vital signs and assess the acuity of the patient, and acuity is basically how serious the problem is. And if the acuity is pretty bad, then the charge nurse will put that patient as a priority. And this process of assessing the patient based on their vitals is called triage. Now, triage is when the patient is assessed based on the acuity of their reasons for being in the ER via their vital signs and the main reason that they're there. There are 3 levels a patient can be categorized through triage: is the mild, moderately severe, and life-threatening or fatal. For the ambulance arrival, the triage process is the team effort between the paramedics and the charge nurse. There are different areas in the ER, or like specialized categories. Every hospital varies, but most of the common areas are cardiology, pediatrics, or maternity. Every ER has a trauma area, obviously. And all nurses that work in the ER will switch areas every day. So every day they'll be working in like maternity, and the next day they'll be working in trauma, and it's pretty crazy. Nurses can get certified in different areas so that they can have a higher level of work. The certifications, nurses can certify in pretty much anything if you want to specialize and move up in the ranks in the hospital. But one of the more common certifications for the ER is the Certified Emergency Nursing, which is the CEN. And to get that, you have to be a registered nurse and hold that for like a number of years so that you can move on to get the certification. Currently, there are 31,400 nurses in the US that have the certification. I guess to go back, so you can get like a number of certifications. You can just go to the ANCC, which is an organization which will tell you what you can get certified in. Back to the different areas of the ER, I know in Brazelton, the psych area that they had was pretty intense because they had these garage type doors that would slam down and activate if the patient was acting a little crazy and tried to hurt himself or someone else. And so they would lock off the patient to make sure that he wasn't hurting anyone. And a lot of the equipment that they have in different areas, like the psych area or the maternity area, are different because of the different problems that each patient has. And back to the psych area, they will have like cameras in the room. Usually other rooms in the ER do not have cameras. And in the ER psych ward area, they have people who have to sit at the front door and watch the patient the whole time, just to make sure that nothing happens to the patient or anyone else. Cardiac area has like these code carts, which are pretty neat because they have these defibrillators on them, and just it's really handy because they have also all these medications which are helpful, and most other areas in the ER wouldn't have these because they don't need that type of equipment. And then there's the trauma area, of course, which has a wide variety of equipment because they see like a wider variety of problems. I know that they have this compression machine where it's basically like a CPR machine just so that the medical staff in the ER don't tire themselves out working on a patient. There's the fast track area, which is usually treated for like broken bones and lacerations, and broken bones is like usually the most common injury that you would see in the ER, and these patients are treated as outpatients, meaning they come in and leave the same day, they don't stay overnight. There's the maternity area for mothers, the gastrology area for like the intestines, and I interned under a cardiologist and a nurse practitioner in the cardiology area, and I know that they had to work closely with gastrologists because a lot of the patients will view symptoms like in their chest and their stomach and think it's a heart problem when really it's something wrong with their intestines. Efficiency, medical staff in the ER is like watched closely on how the patients go in and out through the ER because the patients will record their time, or the hospital records the patient's time in the ER, right? Because they know when they check in and they know when they check out, and they send those times to the government, and the government will assess the times and see if patients are spending too long in the ER or what, if anything is happening, and they make sure that they go over with the medical staff what appropriate times for the patients to go through are, because they want to make sure that it's top quality care. And I think in the ER, for the fast track patients, the average is like about 4 hours for a patient to go in and out and be totally done with their room. There are certain risks affiliated with being a nurse in the ER because sometimes the patients can be unruly and not in a sober state of mind. I know I had heard a horror story of a nurse who was working at like 3 a.m. and this patient who was just not cooperating spit in her face and then later told her that she had, or that the patient had HIV. And so that is not fun. So there are definitely risks of spreading disease if you work in the ER. But most nurses will do it because it's a very satisfying job and helping people is like the main goal. And so that's what they want to do. Thank you for watching my presentation.